Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Morgan here at The Life of Tillman. Today I'm going to be giving you a flip through and a review and comparison of Word Roots Level 1 and Wordly Wise Grade 5. Make sure you stick around to the end where I'm going to share the pros and cons that we discovered after using both of these curricula. Now I'm going to turn the camera around and give you a flip through of both of them. Okay, here is the Wordly Wise book number 5. I'm going to give you guys a flip through. If you buy it brand new, there are 3 components to it. You will have your, what I call the textbook, which is what your child will go through. Then there is the answer key. Now the answer key only goes to the test booklet, or the textbook. It has the answers to the textbook in it. And then you will have your test booklet. And at the back of the test booklet are the answers to all of the tests. So let's flip through the student book first. When you open up your book, the very front cover has Quizlet. Quizlet is an online component to Wordly Wise. Your child can go in, you just create an account, it is free, and they are able to do every single lesson online within Quizlet. It's pretty fun. So that is a bonus to the Wordly Wise. When you go further, you get your table of contents, and based on the table of contents, it simply mentions the title of the passage that they would do on part D of each lesson. So Friends for Life, When Money Grows on Trees. This does not tell you what the lesson goes over, the words. It just simply gives you the passage here and the page. Okay, so lesson 12 starts on 141. A Child of the Revolution is the story that's on page 148. I like that there's a pronunciation key in the back of the book to help your child be able to pronounce the words. Here you are going to go through a welcome and what does it mean to learn words, how to figure out word meanings, school language, which is how to use the words. It also gives you a concept definition map here. How well do you know the words for you to be able to really go through this curriculum and understand the purpose of it. Then you hop right into your lessons. Lesson 1, it's going to give you the word, how to pronounce the word, the part of speech. So this one is a verb, and then it will give you any definitions that are associated with it. This says, talk to your partner about something at school you had to become accustomed to. This is for like a group setting, and it tells you, it has a picture of people there. So it gives your child an opportunity to really talk about those. It does not do that for every single word, but it does for some. This is your list of words. And then you will find that there is a 1. So we're in lesson 1. There's 1A, 1B, C, D. Then you'll go into E. I was wrong. E is the passage. And here we are, the Friends for Life. That was the passage for lesson 1. And then you have your questions. I'm going to go back and kind of show you what each one goes over. So 1A is finding the meanings. You're going to choose 2 phrases to form a sentence that correctly uses a word from the word list. Then write the sentence. So your child is basically finding the meanings of the words and using the word list. Here is where you have your word list. So they will go through that. There are 10 questions there. Then B is jump the right word. It says replace each phrase in bold with a single word or form of the word from the word list. Here's your word list again. They will replace willing to do as they were told. They expected their children to be obedient. So that's what they would do. Put a single line through that and write obedient. Then we get into C, and this is applying the meaning. Circle the letters or letters next to the correct answer. There may be more than one correct answer. And again, they're given the word bank here, so they're not having to flip all the way back. Then here in D, it does talk about synonyms and antonyms. So that is great to be able to have, and they have to choose the synonyms for the words here. Then they have to choose an antonym for the words. Then they get into their passage. Word list is here again. They use the passage. Now, the instructions for the passage are, if there is not a bold word, which is one of the words here, concept. For example, number 2, when does the relationship between guide dog and owner officially begin? They have to find the word and use the correct word in their answer. So if the word is companion, they would have to put companion, blah, 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 blah. They need to use a word in the answer. Word list is here again. So it's pretty much on every single page for your child to be able to refer to. My children go through, and if they use the word, they might check it off or draw a line through it. That way they know. Fun and fascinating facts. It gives you a few words and tells you something interesting about those. And then you go on to vocabulary extension. And here they just pick one word for your child to work on. They can do this as a group. The way it is lined out, it sounds like that. It says, think about your science class. Describe a concept you learned about recently. turn and talk to your partner or group. They would just talk to me. They can write things down, and here they write 2 to 4 sentences. Be ready to share what you have written. 2 to 4 sentences about the word concept. That is it. Every lesson is lined out very similar. They do add in different, so like every other lesson, they work on words in context here, making connections, determining the meanings, completing sentences. Then they have a passage again. Then they go into the vocabulary extension. They have the fun and fascinating facts as well. And so it kind of alternates between the two. So here we are with finding meanings again, just the right word, applying meanings. And then we also have the Latin root. So it does do a little bit of breakdown of the words. That is the concept. And it alternates between those 4 to 8 concepts every time, or 8 concepts every time. So we're back to context. Now, as you get further along, you will come to where they have to do a review. So this is review of lessons 1 through 4. My girls really like this part. They just go in and they fill it in, and it makes some type of sentence that they will have toward the end. And they finish it off over here. Then they take a test after every single lesson. So they will have tests on 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they will do the review on 1 through 4, and then they will have a test. But here we get to the back of the book. And this is where they have the pronunciation key. And then this is a complete word list for your child. It says numbers in parentheses refer to the lesson in which the word appears. Academic words are underlined. So in the front of the book, it talked about specific words that are used in classroom. Those will be the underlined words. Okay, so that is the textbook. Now let's move on to the answer key. And very simply put, the answer key is just all of the answers for every single lesson. Lesson 1, it has 1A, B, C, D, and E. And it will tell you answers may vary depending on what your child is saying. We all know that there are varying answers. I just make sure that my girls' answers are following the rules and they're using the words that they're supposed to, and it aligns with the answer, truly the answer, even though it may not be verbatim here. And that is it for the test booklet. For the answer key. It also gives you all of your lesson reviews here in the back as well. So now we have the test booklet. They have lesson 1. I want you to notice that while there are only about 15 words per lesson, they have about 27 questions. And that's because they put it in different forms. They ask the questions in different ways for your child to be able to make sure that they can understand it. Here we are for lesson 4, and it's all just kind of bubbles, so they fill it in. But some of the questions, it says find an antonym for each bold word there. It says choose the best way to complete a sentence or answer each question, then fill in the circle next to the answer. This one says find the synonym. So in lesson 4, they talked about synonyms, so they're able to do that here. Different instructions or different sections. So this one has 29 questions. And then you get to lesson number 5. So they had their cumulative review on lessons 1 through 4, and then just a test on 1 through 4. You go all the way through, and once you get to lesson number 10, this is your midterm. So in the midterm, this covers lessons 1 through 10. They will have a passage. I skipped a page. They'll have a passage, and then they will answer questions. There are 12 questions. Then they have midterm test number 2. And then they move on to lesson number 11. When you get all the way to the end, all of the tests are lined out the same way. They will have their final test, which is lessons 1 through 20. They have a short passage. They will answer questions about that. And this one says, read this sentence from the passage, and then they have to answer the questions. They have final test number 2, another passage with more words. Final test number 3. What I had my girls do is look at these words, and then they had an opportunity to study those words. That way they know what they're studying for final test number 3. And they did not take all of these tests in the same day. They would take them in the same week, and that would give them an opportunity to really study the words. Final test number 4. So I believe we did 2 tests one week and then 2 the next week, and they got a chance to study in between. And that is it. Then you get to the back of the book, and it has your answer keys for all of the tests. Now we're going to go over word roots level 1. It is for grades 5 through 12 plus. So ideally, this mama could be learning about some word roots myself. It's by the Critical Thinking Company. It works on prefixes, roots, and suffixes. So when you open your book, and I'm going to have to skip some pages because my daughter's been working in this one, but it gives you your table of context and what your root words that you're going to be working on. Like lesson 1 is working on struct, tract, vents, all of those. And then it has your answer key and a dictionary at the back. About the author, it talks about the etymology and why they're using this and what it means to really figure out the roots of the word and how that helps with vocabulary. It breaks down the root, the prefix, and the suffix here, and then word roots. So it's giving you an example of how it's done and why it's done. Then you hop right into your lesson. So we're going to start with just lesson 8. So on the first one, it is broken down into 4 sections. And you have your prefixes here that you will go over, the roots of the words, and then you have your suffixes. Spelling and defining the words. You write each word from the choice box next to its definition. In the beginning of the book, which I didn't show because my daughter's already done it, it does like a pre-assessment. It gives you maybe 10 to 15 words, and your child goes through and tries to figure out what those words are without having ever done the curriculum, haven't studied the words or anything. It's just wanting to see where they are with understanding how to break down the words. So she did do that, and she did really good. She actually got a little over half of them correct. So this is part A. And then on part B, you are completing the sentence, and it gives you the words here for completing those sentences. So if you look here, there are 3, 6, 9, 10 words per lesson. They are all some way related. So you have interaction, reaction, interact, inaction. All of them are related in some way, which really I think helps the child understand what it is that the words mean and makes it easier for them. Then you do the completing sentences section. And then here they go over to defining the word parts. This ion, they would then have to figure out which one of these fits with that. Then they write sentences. You would use each word from the choice box to write a sentence in context so that its meaning is clear to the reader. So the reader is me. If I'm reading this sentence, I need to know what that word means. It's placed in the correct context. And then at the end, you would go to E. This is optional. It's creative writing. Use some or all of the words from the choice box to write 1 or more paragraphs or a short story on a separate piece of paper. That is awesome because they get creative writing within the curriculum. After every 2 lessons, they will have a review. So this review is lessons 7 and 8, and it does the same. It has 4 sections, A through D. So they have section A here, then B, section C, and then section D. And then they move on to another lesson. My daughter would break these up. She does 1 a day, and like D is pretty long, but she does not do word roots on Friday unless she has a review. But that is how each lesson is set up, the exact same. That's it. They all complete the sentence, define the word parts, and then you go to writing sentences. Every 2 lessons, you will then end up with a review, lessons 9 and 10. As you go toward the back of the book, you have your answer key for every single lesson and at each section of the lesson. And then go a little bit further and you get your dictionary, and it gives you Latin prefixes, pronunciation key. You get all of your Latin prefixes. Then you get your Latin root words that are in this book. And then you get your Latin suffixes. And that is it for word roots. So some of the pros and cons of Wordly Wise, I did write them down because they escape me at times. Pros, I'm going to start with Wordly Wise level 5. Some of the pros for Wordly Wise level 5 is that it is self-directed. My daughter can go through and do Wordly Wise all on her own. At times, I will have them read the vocabulary words to me to make sure that they are pronouncing them correctly. But otherwise, this is independent work. They sit down, they do the lessons every day, they take their test, we go over anything that they missed, and they're done with it. It does not involve me much at all. Other things with Wordly Wise is that they do have lots of opportunities to practice. With each one, they have the vocabulary words in the beginning. They can read over those. They have various definitions for them, sometimes 3 for each word. Then they have lessons or parts of the lesson. They have A, B, C, and then D, which is usually the passage that they will read and answer the questions. They also have a time for them to be able to talk about things, and like a creative writing section where they can add in some of their words or one of the words specifically that it focuses on. As I showed you guys through the flip through, that was a bonus, that they give lots of opportunities in different ways for them to apply the words. Another thing that I really liked about it is the reading comprehension factor, because I think a lot of times if we don't use the words in context, then it makes it challenging for us to really commit those to memory. And also the passages are very interesting, and they have a lot of non-fictional information within those passages, which is a bonus because they're like getting some like history and detailed information, something that can be useful in their lives. Some other pros is that they have the fun and fascinating facts about the vocabulary words. That's always nice. My girls love to read those. They also have the extension and writing prompts. One of my daughters really enjoys doing the writing prompts aspect of it. Some other fun things is they have the crossword puzzles when they do the reviews. My girls really do enjoy crossword puzzles. They got that from their grandmother. But they enjoy crossword puzzles. So for them to be able to apply their words, go through the crossword puzzles, that's something that they actually ask to do over other parts of it. And another thing is that you can go online and do an entire lesson, all of the lessons online if you want to, through Quizlet.com, which is awesome because if your child is tired of like flipping through the book, or maybe you guys are out somewhere and they don't have their book and they want to do the lesson or part of the lesson, they can get online and do that. It's a great addition to Wordly Wise. I think that they did a really good job of adding that part in. Another thing, which you probably will be surprised, I am not a huge fan of testing, but Wordly Wise does provide tests. It has, as I showed you before, the test booklet, which the girls can go in and do their own test. And it's just reiterating. I feel like anytime when they're going through the lessons, it's almost like a test then too, because they have the word bank, then they have to go through and answer the questions. So to me, it's not really a test. It's really just like doing an additional lesson, only it's in a test booklet. But I like that they get an additional opportunity to go over what they've been working on for the entire week. Okay, some cons that I found with Wordly Wise, and my girls did also, there are too many words per lesson. Too many. There are like 15 to 20 words per lesson, which is a lot to go over in one thing. And on top of that, the words are not related to each other. It's almost like there's just random words that they just picked. So that makes it even more challenging. If the words don't have some form of relation to each other, it makes it even more challenging to memorize them. Another thing is there is no schedule. And while I don't stick to schedules, it'd be nice to kind of have an idea of what they or how they think you should go through the curriculum. Honestly, I feel like you should take 2 weeks because that gives your child a full day to study, because there's so many words too, a full day to study. Then they do, one lesson the next day or part of the lesson. So A, B, and C, that is 4 days. And then on Friday, they can study some more. They come back to the next week and then they'll do D, which is usually the passage. Then they will get into the extension activity. They get another day to study and then they take their quiz. So that's really 8 to 9 days. So which is like 2 weeks for them to work on it. I think that's a better schedule. My girls didn't really like that because they felt like it just made it drag on. But I also think that it helped them to really commit the words to memory a lot better because they had more time to go over them. Because 15 words, and these are not baby words. We're talking about a 5th grade book or 4th grade book. We're not talking 3-letter words, CVC words. These are real words that they are having to memorize and apply. So that would be helpful to have some form of like a baseline of schedule, but also less words per lesson, or even words that just are related in some way. Another thing that people may feel like is a con is that it can be kind of pricey in comparison to other vocabulary curricula books. It anywhere from $45 to $55 for all 3 books. So you get basically I call it like the textbook, you get the test answer booklet, and then you get the test booklet itself. So 3 books, and you're spending about $45 to $55 depending on where you get it. You can get all of these books. You can get them from Rainbow Resources, ChristianBooks.com, Amazon. You can buy them directly from the Wordly Wise website. You can also buy them used as well. It all just depends on what your fancy is and what you or where you want to get it from. Cost will range you there if you're buying it new. Now remember, I talked about stretching it out. This is only 20 weeks. So you could, if you stretched it out over 2 weeks, then that would take you to 40 weeks, which is just a little bit over a regular school year. And so that is an option if you feel like it's too many words. We've done that before, like I said, and it worked out okay for us. So we may go back to that, we'll see. But that is an option if you feel like there are too many words, which I do. All right, now I'm going to give you pros and cons of word roots. This is level 1. It's for grades 5 through 12. Pros for word roots is that they give you the breakdown. They give you the prefix, the root word, the suffix, what it all means, the meaning of the prefix and the suffix, the meaning of the root word. It just breaks it down so nicely. Now, my 5th grader is currently using this and she loves it. If I ask her to choose between word roots and Wordly Wise, she is definitely going to choose the word roots. But that is just how her brain works. She wants to know all of those things, and knowing and being able to dissect the word and break it apart is really helpful for her to be able to commit that to memory so that she knows what it means. Because then she can move on to other words and dissect them as well and say, oh, based on what I've learned, this and this means this when you put the word together. It's just a really good idea. I like it. Some other things I like about it, which is the same for Wordly Wise, is that it's really self-directed. I don't have to help her unless she's just having a really hard time understanding it. There was one lesson where she needed a little bit of help because she just was having a hard time dissecting it. But other than that, she goes in and she does her work, and Mama does not need to participate whatsoever. Some other things that I like about it is that the words within each lesson are all related. Like they may all have the same root, but have a different prefix and suffix, or past tense or present tense. They're all related in some way. So while there are 10 words in each lesson, they're all related. So it's not like you're just pulling random words from wherever to have your child study. There is some correlation between the words, which makes it easier to understand them and be able to learn the meanings of those words. And also, Word Roots also has the creative writing aspect of it. And my oldest daughter is all about creative writing. So that's been nice that she's been able to do that and she can apply her words to it. It just allows her to get creative with coming up with different kinds of stories to be able to apply those words. A few more pros is that it's not expensive. For this book, you will spend about $26 if you buy it. You can buy it at Mardell, ChristianBooks.com, Rainbow Resources, Amazon. All of those places are available for you to purchase it, in about $26 to $27 on average. So that's really good. One book. We want to keep costs low within our homeschool, so that's nice to be able to do that. And the last thing, which is perfect for my daughter, is it's directed to the point. There are no bells and whistles, there's no color in it, there's no games in it. You get in, you learn your words, they break it down for you, you have A through D, you're done. That's it. You just work through it, you get an understanding and work through the lessons, and it's done. So very straightforward and to the point. Okay, that takes me to cons for word roots. Some of the cons that people may feel, like just the opposite of what I said, is that it doesn't have any bells and whistles. Their child might get bored with it. My daughter, my oldest daughter, does not. It's right up her alley. She's a no frills kind of girl. But if your child is looking for color or different activities, like maybe the crossword puzzles that we find in the Wordly Wise book, it's not in Word Roots. There's nothing. The most creative they get within the Word Roots is the creative writing aspect that's at the end of each lesson. There's also no online component that goes with it, where Wordly Wise does have that online aspect. So if you're looking for that, you won't get that with Word Roots either. Some other cons that I found is that there are no tests. There are no tests to the Word Roots curriculum, which is fine. Like I said, you're going through the lesson anyway, so you're going to apply it. A test is simply just the application as well. But they do have reviews every 2 lessons, as I showed you guys through the flip through. I thought that was interesting. My daughter doesn't care either way. I really don't either. But some people you may want your child tested, and you can do that on your own. You could come up with your own test. You could do a verbal test. There's definitely a remedy to that if you want the testing aspect of it. But there are no tests within this booklet. Another thing I felt was a con is that there's no reading comprehension. So while you can make up your own sentences and things like that, there's not a passage for you to read to see those words applied within a structured reading. Now, they do get to create their own. However, it definitely would not be as structured if someone came up with a passage for them to read and answer questions with regards to the vocabulary words, but it's not a deal breaker for us when it comes to the curriculum. So overall, there are definitely benefits to both. I love both of them, and that's why we're alternating back and forth. We're doing that, number one, because it gives them a wide range and variety of vocabulary words. Number two, it also breaks up the monotony. They can do one for 1 month and go to the other one for the next month, and it just gives them a change in what they're doing for the vocabulary curriculum. For you, just depending on which one you might choose, it's really all about what you're looking for your child. My oldest daughter, as I said, she really likes the breakdown of the words in the word roots. And the benefit of doing the word roots is that when she goes over to Wordly Wise now, she looks at those words with a little bit of a different lens. She's like, okay, I wonder if I can break this down and find the prefix and the suffix and then find the root word in here and really help her come to the meaning of the word without having to read the definition. That's a game that she's liking to play with herself to see if she's really comprehending and understanding how to put the different parts of the words together for their meanings. So all in all, it really just depends on what you're looking for and cost comparison and just overall what your child may like. And you might just be like us and incorporate both of them into your homeschool.